What's up, guys? So I was asked to make a little loner deck overview video for the Synchro Festival and Master Duel. So I'm going to be going through each deck. It's going to be a little bit of a longer video, going through each deck and sort of what the main combos are in the deck, what important cards to look out for in the deck are, and what boss monsters you should really try to get out in order to give you a little bit of an edge. Because it's going to be a longer video, I'm going to have timestamps in the description for you guys. But please consider leaving a like and subscribing, because the viewership is going to be all over the place with all the skipping around. Thanks a bunch. Alright guys, so first we're going to go with the Shining Crystal Wings loner deck. It's a Speedroid based deck, which if you guys haven't used Speedroids before or even looked at them, they're very much similar to in my opinion, like an older sort of swarm kind of playstyle, kind of like what Black Wings felt like back in the day, but 10 times more broken. So you have a lot of searching, you have a lot of special summoning from the hand for free, you have a lot of basically synchro chain plays. This is like a 15-minute turn deck a lot of the time. At least the deck I run in real life is very similar to this. So we'll start with Speedroid Red-Eyed Dice. So he, when this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one Speedroid monster you control, declare a level between 1 and 6, it becomes that level. So this is like your main, if you need to reach for a specific synchro, you get them off with Speedroid Red-Eyed Dice. So, say for example, we'll get to it in a minute. Next is Malicious Magnet. So this guy, if you normal or special summon him, you can synchro with an opponent's monster. So this is a way of clearing their field for free. It's very similar to like how people run kaijus and contribute your monster. There's not much your opponent can do about you synchroing with their monster. So this is a great card to have in this loner. Next is Marble Machine. Now, I don't think you're going to be doing very much pendulum summoning in this deck, but he is a pendulum monster. So his pendulum effect is, once per turn, when your defense position monster is targeted for an attack, you can change it to attack position, and it can't be destroyed by battle. So you have that effect that's useful. It, you know, works to stall a little bit. And then you have his normal summoned effect. So when he's normal summoned as a monster, you can activate this effect, add one Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. Also, you can't special summon this turn except for win monsters, which is your entire extra deck and your entire monster deck. So you're not going to be having to face that sort of disadvantage. You're just getting a free search for normal summoning. And next we'll go to Terror Top, which is unfortunately limited to 1. It's one of my favorite cards in this deck. When you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. So no requirement on the opponent's side of the field. Just if you have no monsters, open field, just drop him. When he's normal or special, you can search for a Speedroid monster, add it to your hand. So very basic, but very powerful because most other cards in your deck can just drop from the hand as well for free. Like this one. So Take Tomborg, when you control a win monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then you contribute him and just get whatever tuner from your deck you need. But you can't special summon for the rest of the turn except for win monsters, which is your entire extra deck. So you search for Takum Tomberg, you drop him, you tribute him, you get whatever tuner you're actually looking for. Such as Red-Eyed Dice, so you can special summon him from the deck, and then change, say for example, you summon Terror Top to search for Takum Tomberg, you can change Terror Top to a level 5 or level 6, and then go for a level 7, get your Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Just like that. Next is Denden Daiko Duke. So, Denden Daiko Duke, I don't know if I like him very much. He's not bad either. He's a level 3 tuner. Not really, it's just, he seems like slow in the midst of all these like drop from the hand cards, but he's a really good card. So when he's in the graveyard, you can banish him and special summon a Speedroid tuner from your hand or graveyard, except for him. So he's like an extender for like mid to late game, unless you set him up to the graveyard with one of your later cards that can send cards to the graveyard from your deck. Next is Car Turbo. So he, if you control a win monster, you can drop him from the hand. But you can't activate monster effects for the rest of the turn. except for wind monsters, which is your entire deck. You can banish this card and another Speedroid card from your graveyard. All wind monsters you control gain 800 attack. So he's sort of a double whammy. He's a level 3 tuner, you drop from the hand for free, and you also can banish him from the graveyard after you made your big Synchro play that turn, and get some extra damage to attack over something or get game. So one of your main good cards here. Next is Speedroid Ultra Hound. I don't like him very much, but in this particular loner deck, he's actually pretty decent. So when he's normal summoned, you can send a Speedroid card from your deck to the graveyard. So once during the main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a Speedroid monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and then special summon a Speedroid monster from your extra deck with the same level but a different name, and negate its effects. So what you can do is you can target a level 3 Speedroid, say for example your Den Den Daiko Duke or whatever, and you can shuffle him into the deck, and then special summon a Speedroid Synchro monster like your high Speedroid Quirk Shooter, which is a Synchro tuner, which you can use to get into a big play. But we'll get to him in a minute. Next we have Double Yo-Yo. He's very basic, but I like him as well. You just normal summon him, you can special summon a Speedroid from your graveyard that's level 3 or lower. So you summon Yo-Yo, you can special summon Card Turbo from the graveyard. That's a Synchro for 7 right there. So, really good card. Speedroid Menko, he's more of a defensive Speedroid. So he's level 4, 2000 defense. And you can drop him from the hand if your opponent direct attacks you to special summon him and change all their monsters to defense position. So that lets you stall a turn and you get a free level 4 on the field, which you can then play off of, for example, with Card Turbo. If you draw that next turn, you control a wind monster, you just drop it from the hand, you get a level 7 right there. Horse Stilts. When he's normal summoned, special summon a level 4 or lower Speedroid from your hand. So he's another sort of extension play from your hand. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, send a wind monster from your deck to the graveyard. So that's another set up the graveyard, such as Ultra Hound. Then you have Fuki Modoshi Piper, which, if he's normal or special summon, you can excavate the top card of your deck equal to the number of wind monsters you control. So if you have a full board before you Synchro Summon, if you bring him out, you can excavate all the top cards of your deck, like say if you have 4 monsters, 4 cards right there. Then you get to add one to your hand, place the rest on the bottom of your deck, and then you can banish this card from the graveyard, then target a level 3 wind monster you control and reduce its level. So this lets you sort of adjust sort of what you're doing for your play. Say you need to get to 7 and you're above, maybe you're at 9. You can drop like a level 3 to 1, and then you can go into your level 7 or whatever you're trying to go for. So just a really good card in a Synchro deck. Being able to reduce levels or add levels is a really good thing in Synchro decks. Next we have Rubber Band Plane. So a level 5, if a monster is special summoned to your field, you can special summon this card from your hand, which you're going to be special summoning a lot from your hand anyway. Also, you cannot special summon monsters except wind monsters, which is no problem for this deck. You can only use Speedroid Rubber Band Plane once per turn. That effect. You can only use that effect of Speedroid Rubber Band Plane once per turn. If this card's normal or special, you can target a face-up monster on the field. It loses 600. So this is more like you summon Terratop, you search for Card Turbo, you summon Card Turbo, and then you also have Rubber Band Plane in your hand. You can drop that as well because you special summoned. So then you have a level 8 potentially play, or you can have a level 6, and then you just have Rubber Band Plane on the field for 1800 to attack directly. So you're swarming the field, you're synchroing off, you have all those extra effects such as the reduce their attack, gain attack with Card Turbo. A lot of options. Now as for the spells, you know Feather Dust, you know Monster Reborn. Recovery is like Monster Reborn. So you can target a Speedroid in your graveyard, special summon it, and you can also banish this card from the graveyard to return a Speedroid in your graveyard to your hand. So it's a Monster Reborn and a reincarnation for Speedroids. Lightning Storm, we all know. Speedroid Scratch, you can send a Speedroid from your hand to the graveyard and then search for a Speedroid. So if you don't have the Speedroids you need, Speedroid Scratch is there for you. And you can also search for it with some of the later cards that I'll let you know. Speedroid, or Speed Lift, rather. So next to Speed Lift, if you control exactly one tuner and no other monsters, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Speedroid from the deck. And neither player can activate cards or effects when that monster is special summoned. So next is 2 Call by the Grave. I'm pretty sure all the decks have something that activates in the graveyard, even if it's not a hand trap. So this is just going to be your way of keeping them from extending their combos or getting back into the game. Speedroid Wheel is a really fun one. You discard a card, roll a 6-sided die, and you can special summon from your hand or deck 1 or 2 Speedroids whose total levels equal the result, but their effects are negated. And if you don't special summon, you just take damage equal to the result times 500. So it's a little risky, especially if you roll something and you sort of don't have the monsters, but you only need to summon one. So it's your way of sort of getting free monsters out. Even if you have monsters in your hand you can play with, it's worth going for if you get an early game, because it's free monsters, right? Speedroid Duplicate. You banish a win monster from your graveyard, target a card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. So you can pop any card, say there's a back row you're worried about, or they have, like, say, a Stardust Dragon that you can't get over. You want to Lightning Storm them, but you can't, because obviously Stardust. This lets you pop them back to the hand. So popping back to the hand is really strong against Synchros, because you spend so many materials to get them out, and then they go back to the hand. It's just right back to the extra deck, right? And then during the main phase, if this card's in the graveyard, you can target a level 2 or higher Speedroid you control, reduce its level by 1. So one of those other level modulation type cards. And then you can special summon this card as a tuner level 1 token, which is really good. Next is the Synchro deck. So here is your sort of only, I believe, Synchro tuner in the deck, which is required for some of the bigger boss monsters. It's a level 3, which is interesting. When it's Synchro summoned, you can search for a Speedroid spell or trap like Speedroid Scratch or Speedroid Duplicate, or you can bring back the cards you used to Synchro summon this card, which doesn't sound that great because it's only level 3, right? But you have to remember, Red-Eyed Dice is in the deck, which is a great card. So what you do is you summon Terratop. You can search for Taken Toneborg, use Taken Toneborg Tribute for Red-Eyed Dice, then Red-Eyed Dice turns Terratop to a level 2, then you go for 3, you get Cork Shooter. Cork Shooter brings them back, then you turn Terratop into a level 6, and then make Clearwing Synchro Dragon, and then you go into level 3 plus level 7, you make a level 10, you get your Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon, which is your big boss monster, but we'll get to that in a minute. Next, High Speedroid Puzzle. I believe he just doubles his attack if he battles a special summon monster. So it's sort of like if you need to attack over something and you don't have a lot of resources, you get a level 4 out, which is relatively easy. And there you go. Chanbara, you'll be getting out a lot. I think the level 5s are sort of the more common. This one attacks twice. And if it battles, it gains 200 attack each time it does. Hagoita, you contribute this card, increase the levels of all monsters currently on the field by 1. And this is during either player's turn. So, this card's actually really funny, because if someone's setting up for a play, and you know they don't have higher level Synchros, if you see they're going for a level 10, see they're trying to get, or say they're trying to get Baron de Fleur out, you contribute this card on their turn, and increase everything by 1, and then they're just, like, stuck with a bunch of, like, low-level cards on the field. And then, when you, next turn, summon a tuner, you can bring him back from the graveyard and Synchro him off. So, just a really good card all around. So next up, aside from negates being, like, a big thing in your boss monsters, Orient Dragon's going to be the biggest threat to the opponents, because it's a level 6, easy to get out, and when it's Synchro summoned, you can just banish a Synchro monster your opponent controls. So your opponent spends 15 minutes getting off their boss monster, and there's a good chance, say for example it's like a Stardust card, which mainly only protects them from destruction, you can just pop and banish it instead. So really good card. Kendama, it does piercing damage. And you can banish a machine type to inflict 500. You can also, if this card's in your graveyard, special summon it if you control no cards. But you can't normal summon or set the turn you activate that effect. But it's 2200 beater, it does piercing, it's just a really good card. Next is your main, like, I guess, face card for the deck. Clearwing Synchro Dragon. So once per turn, if a level 5 or higher monster activates its effect on the field, negate the activation if you do destroy it. Which, in this day and age of like Link monsters and Xyz, it's not that great. But this is a Synchro event, right? So Clearwing's actually going to be really scary in this event. Also, once per turn, if an effect's activated that targets a level 5 or higher monster on the field, you can negate that activation and then destroy the card. And this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's attack. So then you can just attack over them. Next is Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Once per turn, when another monster's effect is activated, you can negate the activation if you do destroy that monster. So it only targets monsters. If you do, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. If this card battles a level 5 opponent's monster, this card gains attack equal to the current attack. So you attack over everything and you can negate their effects. So really good card, easy level 8 to get out. But you need to build off of a Synchro monster for this. That won't be a problem in this deck though. Next is Kite Drake, which I really like. It's another level 8 monster. Just requires a Machine Tuner and one or more non-tuners, which is your entire deck. If this card's Synchro summoned, you can nuke the field, except for this card, which is really good. Or you can negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent controls. That includes spells and traps. And if this card is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can search for a Speedroid. So Kite Drake is actually a really good card. It's not a boss monster per se, but if you need to nuke the field, you're not sure what they have face down, especially if they're running their own deck, you don't know if they have some sort of crazy trap or something. This gets rid of that. And now your boss monster, so this is what you want to do, the Cork Shooter combo with your Crystal Clearwing, or sorry, your Clearwing Synchro. You're going to get your Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon out. So it's a level 10, so that's the 3+7, right? Okay, so this, when your opponent activates a monster effect, until the end of this turn, face-up card on the field is unaffected by activated effects of your opponent's monsters. And you also gain attack equal to that monster's original attack. Really good. And also, once per turn, if a spell or trap is activated, you can negate it. And if this Synchro Summon card is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card, so say they bait you into negating something that wasn't important and they Raigeki you or something, and it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a win monster from your deck to your hand, which is very open-ended, so that's pretty much any monster in your deck, which is great. Next, High Speedroid Clearwing Rider. I really love this card. So he requires a Wind Tuner, which is any tuner in your deck, and one non-tuner Synchro monster. So you have to combine for this one like a level 8 and a level 3, which a good amount of your extra deck's level 8, so it's not a problem. And you can also, you know, mess around with levels and stuff as well. So once per turn during your main phase, roll a 6-sided die, then shuffle win monsters from your graveyard, so you get to recycle with this, up to the result, and then destroy cards on the field equal to the number shuffled, your opponent controls, rather. And then you gain 500 attack for each one. So you're going to be basically making a, like, OTK monster. And then during your opponent's main phase, you contribute this card, special summon up to 2 level 7 win Synchro monsters with different names, each from your extra deck. So you can bring out a Clearwing Synchro Dragon and like a Clearwing Fast Dragon, which we'll get to in a minute. So next, Clearwing Fast Dragon. I didn't realize that was the last card. You can target, this is a quick effect by the way, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls that was special summoned, make its attack 0 and negate its effects. So really good card. And then if this card's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can place it in the Pendulum Zone, and then it gains this effect. You can target a face-up Speedroid tuner and one non-tuner monster you control that equals 7, and then you can just synchro this card from the Pendulum Zone. So yeah, that's Shining Crystal Wings. So not a bad loner deck. It's just if you're new to synchroing or new to this type of playstyle, it's probably going to be a little overwhelming just based on all the swarming and all of that and all the options you have, right? Alright, so next up is Revolution Calls Thy Name, which is more of like a variety sort of deck focused on Baron de Fleur, which is the newest addition to Master Duel. It's a very broken synchro monster. So the main focus of this deck is your tuners. Level 2 tuners is like a big focus in this deck. Also, you're going to be running a lot of equip stuff, so if you're used to that, that's really good. Then you have a lot of variety in the extra deck here, so if you like synchroing various different things, you don't like sticking to an archetype, I think this one's going to be really fun for you. And also, if you want to try a bunch of different new cards, this is a great one for you as well. So we're going to start with Copy Plant. So once per turn, target another plant type on the field that has a level, and then you can copy that card's level. So you don't have a lot of plants in this deck. Most of your cards are warriors or machines or beasts, right? But you do have plant synchros. You do have Spore, which why would you copy level 1 when you are level 1? But it's just a really good plant tuner. Then you have Spore, which lets you, if it's in the graveyard, banish another plant from the graveyard, special summon this card, and then it gains a level equal to the level of the card in the graveyard. So with this, you can say, banish, copy plant, bring out Spore from the graveyard. It's level 2 now. Fleur Synchron, which is required for some of the synchro monsters in this extra deck. When it's sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, you can special summon a level 2 or lower monster from your hand. So then you can extend, basically, when you use Fleur Synchron. Next is Hop Ear Squadron. During your opponent's main phase, you can target a face-up monster you control, special summon this card from your hand, and then immediately synchro summon using that monster. So say you have a level 4 out. We won't get into his effect yet, but say you have a level 4 out, your opponent is doing stuff, you can drop this card from your hand and then just sync for 6 right then. Right? So, not bad. It's a good level 2, free synchro, even on the opponent's turn, which is good. Necro Synchron is relatively new to me. So this card is treated like Fleur Synchron. So his first effect is you can target one other face-up card on the field, or you control rather, increase its level by 2 until the end of this turn. And then if this card's in the graveyard, because it was used as a synchro material for a wind monster, you can special summon a level 1 plant monster from your deck. So that's why you have the 2 level 1 plants in this deck. Next we have Noble Knight Spearholder. So when this card's normal or special, you can target a level 8 or lower monster, which is pretty much anything in your deck. And its name becomes Fleur Synchron. It's also a tuner. Then you can also attribute this card to add an equip spell from your deck to your hand, which you have a good myriad of choice there. And it's also level 2, which is really good. So next we have Noble Knight Madrot. So he's a normal monster unless he's equipped with a Noble Knight equip spell. And when he is, he's a dark monster with, he's level 5. And if you control the monsters, you can special summon a Noble Knight from your deck in defense position. So he is like a swarm the field guy, and when you do that, you can destroy one of your equips, which sounds bad, but all of your equips basically come back for free when they're destroyed. Next is Noble Knight Dristan. So when you control another Noble Knight, your opponent cannot target monsters with less than 1800 attack, except this card with card effects, and their monsters cannot target them with attacks. If an equip spell becomes equipped to this card that has Noble Arms in the name, target one face-up card in the field, destroy that target. So what you could do is summon Madrot, equip him with the card. If you control no other monsters, special summon a Noble Knight in defense position. So you're going to summon Dristan, right? And then you'll pop the equip spell that you equip to him, right? And then the equip spells, they come back and equip to another Noble Knight you control. So you can just equip it to Dristan and then get to pop a card in the field. So really good combo there. Shield Bearer, when it's normal or special, to banish a light monster from the graveyard, which is actually a good majority of your deck there. And then draw a card. You can banish him from the hand or field to add a level 6 or lower Wind Beast monster from the deck to the hand. So this lets you search for your Wind Beast, which is coming up in a minute. Actually, coming up right now. Next is White Steed of the Floral Knights. So if you control a level 2 monster, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. When an opponent declares an attack, you can banish this card from the graveyard, target one card you control, negate the attack, and if you do, destroy the targeted card. which sounds bad, but if you're targeting an equip card, that's no biggie, right? So not bad at all. Next we have Sage de Fleur, right? I probably butchered that. So with Sage de Fleur, you can target a monster on the field that you control, and one card on the field, special summon this card, and destroy both those cards that you targeted. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one other monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck. Then add one level 1 plant monster from your deck or graveyard to the hand. So if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one other monster in the graveyard, shuffle it into the deck. Then you can search and add one plant monster from your deck or graveyard back to your hand. So this lets you get back your Spore, your Copy Plant, anything like that. Next we have the basic spells and traps. We have Feather Duster, Monster Reborn, Foolish Burial lets you set up those graveyard plays, right? Reinforcement lets you search for pretty much any of your warriors here. Lightning Storm, clear the field. Then you have Noble Arms, Gallatin. So Gallatin gives your warrior monster 1000 attack. Each standby phase it loses 200, but it's probably not going to be a main card you're going to be using here. If this card's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target a warrior type noble knight you control, equip this card to that target. So you're never going to lose your equips for the most part. Next is Caliburn. So Caliburn equipped to a warrior monster, it gains 500 attack. Once per turn, gain 500 life points. Next, Noble Arms of Destiny, really good one. Equipped to a warrior monster, once per turn, the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Noble Arms Clarent. Once per turn you can pay 500, the equipped monster can attack directly. Next is Fleur de Fleur. Activate this card by targeting one level 2 or lower monster in the graveyard, special summon it, but negate its effects, and equip it to this card. When this card equipped by this effect leaves the field, destroy that monster. The equipped monster gains 700 attack. If this card is sent from the spell or trap zone to the graveyard, you can equip this card to one Synchro monster you control. So, just a really good sort of free 700 attack. You could special summon a monster from the graveyard. And when you Synchro it off, I'm pretty sure you could just equip it to that Synchro monster. So really good. Synchro Dilemma, permanent spell. You can send a Synchron monster from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard, special summon one monster from your hand. So if you don't have exactly what you need on the field, you can sort of recycle and get cards out of your hand. You can target one card you control that's not this, destroy it. And if you do, special summon a Synchron monster from your hand or graveyard with a different name from the card destroyed. So this just basically lets you sort of, if you have a Synchron monster or you need one from the graveyard, sort of just bring them out when you need them most, right? Called by the Grave, I think, is in every loner deck this time. Just lets you stop people from activating out of the graveyard. If you're facing this deck, you might want to stop their Noble Arms from coming back. Next is Liberty at Last. Very funny card. So when a card you control, or a monster you control, is destroyed by battle, target 2 face-up cards on the field, shuffle them into the deck. So it has to be 2, it's not up to 2. So be careful about using this, but if your opponent has swarmed the field, say they're using Speedroids, they have 2 or 3 Synchros on the field, you can just shuffle their cards back into the deck and laugh at them. Pennant of Revolution. If another card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, add a Liberty at Last, you can search for this. And then, at the damage step, if a Synchro monster battles a monster, you can destroy your opponent's battling monster. And that's at the start of the damage step. So this lets you just basically beat anything in battle. Unless, obviously, it's a Stardust and they negate this effect. And if this card would be destroyed by a card effect, you can destroy a monster you control instead. So just a really funny card. I like Pennant of Revolution a lot. Next, for the Synchro deck here, we have Martial Metal Marcher. So he is a Synchro Tuner level 3. I don't think you have anything in your deck that really requires a Synchro Tuner. But when he's Synchro Summoned, you can target a Tuner in your graveyard, special summon in defense mode. And a Synchro monster that this card was used as a material for becomes a Tuner itself. So this can let you extend, say you don't have a lot of cards on the field, you don't have a lot of resources, you can bring him out, bring a Tuner back, then get out this guy, like level 5, you can like extend, right? and then this becomes a tuner, and then you can play off into, say, a higher level tuner such as Baron de Fleur, right? Or high level Synchro, I mean, like Baron de Fleur. Next is Underworld Fighter Balmung. So when he's destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target a level 4 in your graveyard, special summon that target. 4 or lower. So you can target level 4 or lower and bring him back. Next is Old Entity Hastor. If this card is sent from the monster zone to the graveyard, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, equip this card from the graveyard to that monster. That monster can attack, its effects are negated, and if this card leaves the field, while equipped to that monster, take control of the monster. So this is sort of a lockdown card, which I think is actually going to be really good because it negates their effects, and it can't. So basically, it's just going to make them deadweight, especially if it's their big boss monster, because they can't synchro their big boss monster off if it's the highest level synchro they have, right? Next is Infernoble Knight, Captain Oliver. So when this card declares an attack, you can target a face-up card in the field, destroy it. So you can pop your opponent's cards if you have to, or if you want to, you can pop your equips. During the main phase, except the turn this card sent to the graveyard. You can target a warrior monster you control, special summon this card from the graveyard as a tuner. And if you do, equip that monster you control to this card as an equip spell that gives 500 attack. So let's say you bring yourself back as a tuner and extend your synchro plays. Splendid Rose, level 6 plant. Once per turn, banish a plant monster from your graveyard. Target a face-up monster your opponent controls, half that target's attack until the end of this turn. During your battle phase, if this card attacked, you can banish a plant monster from your graveyard, half this card's attack until the end of the turn. If you do, it can attack again. So this is like a, if you're trying to get some damage off, you can win a game with this card. It's not bad. Okay, so now we have level 6 Psychic Nightmare. It requires Psychic type monsters as materials, which, unless I'm mistaken, I don't think we have any, except for another Psychic Synchro that's level 6. So I don't know why this is in here. I might be missing something. But during your main phase, pick a random card in your opponent's hand, call what it is. If you're right, this card gains 1,000. So not that big of a deal. It might just be filler, but I don't think they do that. I must be missing something. So next up is level 6 Virtual World Beast yugioh. So yugioh cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects if you control 2 or more monsters in the graveyard with the same original type and attribute, but different names. So that'll be your Noble Knights, your Light Warriors, right? You can banish 2 monsters from your graveyard with the same original type and attribute, but different names. Then target a card in the field, send it to the graveyard. So that's not a destruction, it's a send to the graveyard. So you can get over Stardust with this, I'm pretty sure. Next is your Chevalier de Fleur, which requires Fleur Synchron. Level 8. Pretty good card, 2700 attack. Once per turn, during your turn, when an opponent activates a spell or trap, quick effect, negate the activation if you do destroy it. The only caveat is it has to be during your turn. So don't think this is a big negate block for them. This is just a, on your turn, if you want to do stuff, your opponent can't stop you unless they have hand traps. So, still a really good card. Not as good as you might think, but it's only another level 2 tuner away from getting to Baron de Fleur, which is level 10, which is coming up here. So not bad at all. Next is Mistworm, one of my personal favorite synchros. The caveat for this one is it's level 9, requires 2 non-tuner monsters, so you need at least 3 monsters to bring this guy out. But when he's synchro summoned, target up to 3 cards your opponent controls, return those targets to the hand. So you can just clear their field, they have to set back up again. Infernoble Knight Emperor Charles. If an equipped card becomes equipped to a monster on the field, even during the damage step, you can destroy 1 card on the field. So you can do a suicide play, the card gets destroyed, and then you can equip it to another monster, and then activate this card's effect. During the end phase, you can equip 1 equipped spell from your hand or graveyard to this card. Then you can equip 1 fire monster from your deck to this card as an equipped spell that gives 500 attack. Next is Stellar Wind Wolfrayet. So Wolfrayet gains 300 attack each time another monster's effect is activated, while the attack is less than 4,000. So it caps at 4,000. But say you set this card up, your opponent's going to be activating cards like crazy, especially if he's running Speedroids, so this is going to be something that's going to be hard to get over. Once per turn, if this card's attack is 4,000 or higher, you can shuffle both this card and all monsters your opponent controls to the deck. So this is a keep doing stuff and you're not attacking over me. And then if they get to the point where they can attack over him, even though you're above 4,000, you can just say no and then shuffle everything into the deck, which is way worse than destroying them, by the way, because they have to get those all over again. Next, and finally, is Baron de Fleur, which is an amazing card for them to give you for this loner, especially because you get 2 of them. This card's going to be annoying as hell if you're not playing this deck, or if you're not running your own deck. So Baron de Fleur, level 10, only requires 2 monsters, but can't have more. Once per turn, target a card in the field, destroy it. Very simple. And then once while this is face up on the field, when a card or effect is activated, doesn't matter what, you can negate the activation if you do destroy it. And once per turn, during the standby phase, you can target 1 level 9 monster in your graveyard or lower. Return this card to the extra deck. If you do, special summon that monster. Now you'd think, why do you want to do that? Because the negate effect only works once while it's face up on the field. The only ways to get around that is to re-synchro it out, or you can Book of Moon it, then flip it back over, because I think that resets it. So unless you're doing that, you only get 1 negate while it's on the field. It's still a 3,000 attack. It still can nuke the card of the field once per turn, but the negate is really the scary part, because it doesn't have any requirements. So it's just all around a really good card. Now, for the sake of a beginner, or somebody that's not used to synchro decks in general, I think this deck is probably the most approachable, because it's very similar to the old beatdown type of deck, or just a more, what's the way to put it, more straightforward concept, I guess. Okay, so finally we're going to get onto Miracles of Convergence. Now before I get into this one, I'm going to say I'm not an expert on the Yusei formula, the anime deck crazy combos that you can do. There's a lot of options in all of these decks, but this one is probably the most crazy. So the Stardust Dragon deck, basically, is what I'm going to call it, because it's pretty much what it is. It's focused on basically going wild, getting off powerful monsters. If you play a deck similar to this right, you're going to be getting an OTK, pretty much, if you play this deck right, or at least a deck similar to this. I'm not going to pretend that this is the best form of this deck, but if you like options, if you like feeling like a main character, this is the deck for you. I'm not going to be super in-depth with this one, because I know I'm going to get things wrong and upset people as far as what you should do, but I know for sure, because my friend runs this very similar deck to this, your main bread and butter to start setting up your big plays is getting Junk Speeder onto the field, because when he's synchro summoned, you can special summon as many Synchron tuners as possible from your deck. So that lets you basically cut your deck in half. You're summoning him, which means you already used materials, and then you just basically get all the Synchrons you want. So then from there, right, you have all your tuners out on the field. With Junk Speeder, you can go into 8, right? You can go into whatever else, say 6 or whatever, right? If you previously set up, say you Foolish Burial the Cobalt to the graveyard, you can bring that out because you have a tuner on the field. And then you can go off into all sorts of mess. If you want a good example of what a deck like this can do, I would go look up, actually I'll link in the description alongside a hand tester that I'm going to show you guys, and you can sort of watch why I think this one's crazy, but it is definitely worth learning if you want to be Yusei Fudo for this event. I just personally, it's too much to begin to teach, because I have to learn it myself, and I know for sure I'll get stuff wrong. I don't want to do an injustice to you guys like that. So now I'm on the Master Duel Meta site that I'll link in the description, which if you go to the Synchro Festival announcement page, which I'll link you to, it shows the ban list, sort of a breakdown of what's new in the ban list, and then it shows the sample decks with a deck builder. So then if we go to the deck builder, we're just going to do the Speedroid one. You can go to the draw simulator and test hand draws. So I'd recommend picking what deck you want to try, and then testing the draw simulator out for a little bit before the event starts, and sort of seeing what sort of plays you can pull off in your head. So that'll sort of give you an idea of if the play style would be fun for you, or if you would enjoy the duel itself.